Oh, hello there. It's me, one of the long-lost Beatles. I took an acid trip a long time ago and then woke up here in 2021. Yes, John Lennon is not around. Today's lesson will be about empathy. Empathy is one of those things. You either have it or you don't, but it can be taught. One of the reasons I like to come into nature and look around is because this is, for all intents and purposes, empathy here. Let's see if we can find an example of how this forest is empathy. Empathy means being able to relate to other people's feelings and changing your course of action in order to benefit everyone without harming someone. At least that's what I think of when I think of empathy. Okay, well, I can't necessarily find one right now, but if I do come across one, I'll show you. Mushrooms grow in a network called mycelium. Mycelium is made up of mycorrhizae, which is these little fibers that can transfer information from the fungus to its host. So a tree, like not this tree, but a tree, may need some sort of natural form of pest control in order to kill the bugs that are destroying the tree. So let's say that a mushroom that just so happens to produce a toxin or a chemical that kills or creates a barrier to keep away a certain insect that eats the tree. This mushroom will grow next to the tree. The insects will feed on it, or it will put out some sort of chemical. And in return for getting rid of the bugs, the tree will sacrifice through its root system carbohydrates and simple sugars for the mushroom to use. So they're transferring this back and forth. And the mycelium will be underneath all of this. You see, the biggest living organism ever found was a mycelial network. I believe it was up in like Wyoming or Montana, one of those far northwestern places. And it covered miles, square miles, one organism. And it's all part of a network. So how is this empathy? Well, it's not human empathy. It's not related to feelings. But the tree knows that the mushroom needs to survive. And the mushroom knows that the tree needs to survive. So they make it work. They care for one another if you subtract human emotions from that and just label it for what it is. So when I come here, especially if I'm chaotic inside, I will come, and as I walk around, here, let me flip the camera so I can show you something. If you walk around in the forest and you allow all of the emotions that you possess within yourself to vanish, just for a moment, tell yourself that they're not real at all. You feel nothing other than what's around you. I want to feel like what's around you. So, you see the little bugs flying around? I don't know if you can because they're so tiny. But they're floating around in this space. And they fly in a certain pattern. They're feeling a certain pulse in this world. And they're a part of that pulse. And they go along in harmony. When I look around here, I can almost, in my mind's eye, see the waves, the wavelength of this forest. It's very peaceful. It does not have a sharp crest. It does not go down quickly. The wavelength here is smooth and balanced, and everything that exists here fits into that balance. Whether it be decomposition of this forest, new growth of this forest, it's all part of one thing. Now, human beings, we operate on whatever wavelength that we want, or however we're feeling. And the reason I say we want is because you do have a choice on how you react to the feelings that occur within you. The feelings that occur within you are nothing more than a reaction to a stimulus that your body is designed to do. It's designed to react in certain ways. That's how we've managed to make it so long. The problem is the survival that we used to have, that the instincts that we needed firing all the time. We don't have as much need for those anymore. We are the most comfortable generation that has ever existed. We have no need to survive. So we have to ditch those emotions. And I was considering jumping this, but it's so much farther than it looks. We have to be able to take a stimulus, recognize the stimulus for what it is, determine what's the most appropriate way, and how would we want ourselves to act according to this. What do we want to feel? How do we want people to see us? And this doesn't go into the whole I'm worried about what people think of me thing, but it's more, how do you want people to see the representation that you have of who you are? If you're very reactionary, people will not be able to trust your decisions. So if instead something happens, you take a deep breath when something happens, and as the breath comes out, you make a decision. Okay, it's now appropriate for me to go and F these guys up. It's time for me to go storm the castle. Or, you know what? This is a scenario where my normal reaction could make this worse, so I should react this way. And yes, I get all this from the forest. There's so much information in here. The internet was invented by the mushrooms, that mycelial network that transfers information. That's fiber optics in a way. Oh yeah, this is pretty. Let's go down here. Welcome to my life, everyone. I go and I bust my ass all day, and then I take these little things for myself. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to be me and myself when I die. And I want to be happy about how I've lived, what I've done, just the way that I've been. I want to be happy about it. And so I do things that make me happy and make me peaceful and make me remember who I really am. Because you're born as who you are. Instantly, you will have your nature. What an amateur move. My finger was in the camera. You will have your nature, and you will be a certain type of person. If you notice, children have traits that they never get rid of. They may grow up and they may do everything you tell them to because you're strict, or that's what's expected in your home, and there's some sort of repercussion for that. People learn that kind of a thing. But at the same time, they keep it within themselves. One day, when my parents are gone, I'm going to do this. It's still going to be there. So a person is a person, no matter how small. That's from Horton Hears a Who, if you don't know. Dr. Seuss. So, what I was getting at anyway, is you've always been who you are. It's a core thing. It's part of your actual makeup, your foundation. And you can't take that from someone. But what does happen is we overlay all these different personalities that we've picked up from everyone out here and from what people have told us we ought to be, do, and how we ought to behave. So we pick all these things up and we kind of build this shell, almost as if we're in an avatar. And the avatar is our made-up personality. We're operating it every day. But when you go home, you get out of the suit and you are who you are when no one's around. That's what integrity is, doing what's right when no one's looking. Well, I'm asking you to have integrity of the soul and be who you are when everyone's looking. The integrity of the soul. It's a nice title. I think I'll name this video that. Integrity of the soul means knowing who you are, adapting your life to your nature, never going against your nature. The Bible has a very interesting verse that says, "He who blasphemes against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but he who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven." Now, there are many translations to what this could mean, but thankfully, the Bible has many meanings. And one of the meanings that I can take from that is that you're given a soul. You know right from wrong. You're given a soul. I wanted to change the word, but there really is no better word for it. You really are given a soul, a very particular one. And if you blaspheme against that soul, against that nature, against what you've been given, That's what that means in my world. It's just so amazing here. All this stuff is just existing. And when I'm not here, this leaf will be here. Regardless of what I believe I can manifest, this will be here. I mean, just look at this. Look at this. Artists spend decades learning how to recreate nature. And nature did it already. Just look how freaking beautiful the bark on this tree is. And if the bark on this tree is this beautiful, and it serves no other purpose than to grow and to shade things below it and to give oxygen to this planet, but that's it, and it's that beautiful. Imagine how much more beautiful you ought to feel and be because you are. That's something I've never understood. If God can decorate the flowers so beautifully, how much more beautiful has He decorated your soul? Now I say He, but I don't believe that. God is not a person like us. We were created in God's image, but the image of the soul. The image of the masculine and feminine, the divinity of the combination of the two. That is how we were created in God's image. All of this is also in God's image. God had a thought one time, and here we are, experiencing it. We are the thought playing out in the mind of this galaxy, this universe, this creation. Anyway, looks like we're to the edge of the forest. I hope you got something out of this. And remember, when life gives you chaos, and the rocks are falling down the cliff, and the thunder claps, and the lightning strikes, no matter what happens to you, be still.